9:37 p.m. in Bafu, Northwest region. Good evening and welcome. The headlines: 4 billion francs CFA is the amount that the government of Cameroon grants to subsidize patients suffering from kidney failure, as revealed by the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malashi, during a meeting in order to reassure these patients at the Yaoundé General Hospital. The UK has banned all arrivals from Tanzania and the Democratic Republic of Congo from a Friday to stop the spread of the South African variant of the COVID-19 pandemic. In sports, the Group B matches went down at the Japoma Stadium in Douala on Thursday when the Leopards of the Democratic Republic of Congo met the Libya Mediterranean Knights in a game that ended in a 1-1 draw. These stories will be developed in this edition. Stay tuned. Good evening and welcome back. 4 billion francs CFA is the amount that the government of Cameroon grants to subsidize patients suffering from kidney failure. This was revealed by the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malashi, in order to reassure these patients at the Yaoundé General Hospital. This report carries the details. Patients with kidney failure in Cameroon continue to cry out. After those of Douala, Yaoundé, Bamenda on Wednesday, January 13th, the patients of Maroua erupted in the only hemodialysis center of the city house in the building of the regional hospital of the city to demand the reopening of this center that suffers from a lack of materials to take care of them. If since the advent of COVID-19, the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malashi, has focused his energies on the fight against this pandemic, the multiple strikes recorded by patients has pushed the minister to later hold a meeting on Tuesday, January 19 at the Yaoundé General Hospital. During this meeting, the minister reassured the patients on the fact that the government continues to think of them. The proof each year of subsidy of 4 billion francs CFA is made available to them for a better follow-up. He also recognized that the care of hemodialysis patients was hampered by the insufficient quality and quantity of the kit, degradation of equipment, poor functioning of the bathroom, the lack of a blood bank. Within the General Hospital, the high cost of care despite the state subsidy and the non-payment of the transplantation component in the treatment of chronic kidney failure. At the end of the discussion, the Minister of Health promised to make available as soon as possible in March 2021 about 16 new devices for the General Hospital and the placement into the field a team of technicians to examine this feasibility of constructing a borehole within the hospital into the coming days. While waiting for the materialization of the promise of Dr. Manauda Malashi, the thorny problem of the management of patients suffering from a kidney failure continues to remain a great hindrance. Security forces in Mali dispersed a protest in the capital Bamako Wednesday as they fired tear gas at dozens of protesters during an unauthorized march against the French military's role in the country. Earlier, Bamako City Hall had banned the protest against the French military, citing the COVID-19 restrictions. Protesters on motorbikes convoys managed their way through the capital city and placed roadblocks. The protesters, who were in the central square of the Malian capital, fled before the canisters were fired. Mali has been struggling to defeat jihadist insurgents which first emerged in the north of the country in 2012 before spreading to the center and neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger. France, its former colonizer, intervened in 2013 to help drive out the jihadist forces advancing on Bamako. Currently, it has 5,100 troops deployed across Africa's Sahel region as part of its anti-jihadist force. But some are disturbed by their continuous presence in these countries and, of course, the center. The UK has banned all arrivals from Tanzania and Democratic Republic of Congo from Friday to stop the spread of the South African variant of the COVID-19 pandemic. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said in a tweet all passengers from these countries except British and Irish nationals and third country nationals with residence rights will be denied entry. Details in this report. Earlier this month, passengers from 11 other Southern African countries were banned to enter UK for similar reasons. The African Centre for Disease Control and Prevention on Thursday said the continent's COVID-19 death rate now stands at 2.5%, higher than the global average of 2.2%. It listed Democratic Republic of Congo among 21 African nations with a death rate above 3%. The authorities in Tanzania have downplayed the extent of the epidemic in the country and have not been releasing any data on infections or death. In June last year, the Tanzanian President John Magufuli declared that the country was coronavirus-free thanks to prayers by citizens. However, the World Health Organization expressed concerns over the country's strategy on COVID-19. Botswana, Zambia, Gambia, and Kenya have detected a new variant of the COVID-19 virus that was first identified in South Africa last year. The World Health Organization has said. World Health Organization's Regional Director for Africa, Matshidiso Moeti, attributed the spread to the movement of people across the continent. According to Dr. Moeti, it may also be that the new strain is circulating in different African countries but have not been identified. We are now working with scientists in different laboratories with the capacity to determine the complete DNA of the virus to boost their surveillance, Kenya's Health Director General Patrick Amoth told the press. The variant was found on 2 South African passengers who had traveled to Kenya 1 month ago. South Africa is the worst hit country by the pandemic in the continent. A team of researchers from 3 South African universities working with the National Institute for Communicable Diseases found that the current vaccines being used may not be effective against this new strain. That report takes us to Central Africa, where the Central African Republic has declared a 15-day state of emergency throughout the country as a coalition of armed groups seeks to overthrow re-elected President Faustin Archange Touadera. The spokesperson for the presidency of the Central African Republic, Albert Yaloke Mokpempe, made the announcement Thursday on national radio as elaborated in the following report. It comes as an alliance of 6 armed groups carried out sporadic attacks in towns far from the capital and on Road No. 3 highway, the crucial supply line linking Bangui with neighboring Cameroon. President Archange Touadera was re-elected in a contentious vote in December 27, 2020 and was repelled by the opposition and several armed groups. Militias claiming to represent ethnic or other groups control 2/3 of Central African Republic's territory, raising queries about government's control of the vast mineral-rich Central African country. The United Nations envoy to the Central African Republic, Manken Dieye, on Thursday called to the Security Council for a substantial increase in the number of peacekeepers deployed in the country after recent deadly attacks by armed groups. The increase must be accompanied by greater mobility in a very large country, added the United Nations representative. He also deplored what he called huge desertion since December of Central African security forces, which requires reforms. There must be a strategy for adjusting the mandate, he insisted during a video conference of the council organized by African members of this body after a request from Bangui. However, no specification in the number of additional peacekeepers desired for the MINUSCA mission was stated, which already has nearly 12,000 troops and represents one of the largest and most expensive United Nations operations in the world. At least 100,000 people have fled their homes in the country as a rebel coalition calling for the resignation of the president launches attacks. Though most of attacks have been foiled by a combined operation of United Nations peacekeepers and government soldiers, there have however been a few blue helmet casualties. The situation has now thrown into jeopardy 2 years of relative peace in a country that was racked by a brutal 5-year civil war that started in 2013. The security forces in the Central African Republic are mainly trained by European Union and Russia instructors. In sports, the Group B match went down at the Japoma Stadium in Douala Littoral region on Thursday when the Leopards of the Democratic Republic of Congo met the Libya Mediterranean Knights in a game that ended in a 1-1 draw. Democratic Republic of Congo suffered a series of pre-match blows when coach Florent Imbenge, goalkeepers Lee Matampi and Guy Serge Mukumi, defender Andy Bikoko and midfielder Dogza Gikanji tested positive for the coronavirus pandemic. After playing a goalless draw against Niger in their opening Group B match, on a Sunday, the Mediterranean Knights of Libya still maintained the flow when they drew a goal each with the Red Devils of the Republic of Congo. The Democratic Republic of Congo now lead Group B with 4 points. Niger and Libya shared 2 points each, and the Republic of Congo secured 1 point. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Sport Note draws curtains to this edition. It has been essential African information from this end. Stay tuned and remember, Le Journal de 20 comes up next. Happy weekend and stay blessed.